We're live.
Ready? Okay.
All right, we will start with a meeting of the audit committee. My name is Allison Walsh, chair. The meeting will come to order. You can take roll. Allison Walsh is here. Mr. Mazza,
Here?
Mr. Nigro.
Yes.
Sarah is running late. Alejandro Polino. Here. Jasmine Higgins.
Here.
And Danielle Melendez. Here. All right, thank you.
Madam Chair, we have two people outside, Harold Island, our attorney who helped us, and Jeff Jameson, the Albany County Attorney, joining us as guests.
Great, thanks for joining. Okay, I think,
Yeah, we could if you'd like. So just as a matter of course, Amy will introduce our auditors, but we do have some guests. First, I'd like to introduce Sandy Mathis, who's a consultant to the Alliance, who's going to be helping us with some of our redevelopment projects. Sandy's a long-standing economic developer, has done some great work on Greene County originally, and then other parts around the state.
I would question that.
Right, many do. And of course, Dylan Turek, our staff, and John Wallner, thank you, John. And also on the guest list, we have Mike Lally, Director of Operations from Albany County, and Dave Riley, Director of Budget and Finance for the county as well. And so thank you.
okay, I think we're going to go to Amy Thompson for the CFO report.
So the first thing on the CFO report is the resolution for the independence of the auditor. This resolution just states that our audit firm, Bonadio, does not provide any other services outside of audit services for the authority. Tom, I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, this just
Expand on that.
confirms that fact, and by law, we confirm it both when we bring them on and then when we accept their report. And it's both in our enabling legislation and in public authorities law, it lays out the criteria. And as Amy said, it's basically that they're limited to auditing services, so that there would not be either an actual or perceived bias. So that's before the audit committee to confirm. So subject to that, I'll let you ask for a first and a second and then discussion.
Call vote, first. Second. All in favor? Okay. Next, the review and recommended approval of the annual procurement audit.
So in your packet, you will see the Paris reports. These are reports that are due to the ABO by March 31st. This is something that will need to be done every year and is dependent on the audit being completed before the March 31st deadline. In here, there are 4 Paris reports. The first one being the annual report, which covers governance, board member information, staff information, benefits. It also includes a summary of financial information, which you'll see once Kevin presents the audit that will match what is presented in the audit. Debt, which is, for 2024, there wasn't much going on. 2025 will be a lot different. There'll be much more information in these Paris reports, but as far as debt in real and personal property for 2024, there were none. The next Paris report is the investment report. Again, just goes over stating that we have an investment report and guidelines that are posted to our website. That is one of the things the ABO requires of us. Next is a certified financial audit. Just states, again, that we have posted the items to our website per the ABO. And last is the procurement report. The only thing in the procurement report this year was the $207,000 that was due to the Alliance for expenses incurred prior to the authority having any funds. Are there any questions on the Paris report?
Okay, thank you so much for that report. No action required.
No action. What you will do as part of the committee report is just brief the board and recommend to the board that the committee recommends this be adopted.
Okay.
The board will do it. Yes, great.
All right, we'll move on to the review and approve the audited financial statement and accept independent audit. We're gonna go to Kevin Testo.
All right, well, good morning, everyone. My name is Kevin Testo. I'm a partner with the Bonadio Group. In front of you, I believe, is the actual financial statements for the Pine Hills Land Authority. And we can ask the question right now, well, what did you actually audit? There was no activity. So that is true. But as you'll see, there's about 14 pages here of information that will become public information. So looking at the first 2 pages is our audit opinion. Now keep in mind, these financial statements are for the period September 12th, 2024 through December 31st. September 12th being the first legal date of the organization. There's a lot of information in the opinion that essentially says that the financial statements were performed under government auditing standards, and that we feel that the financial statements are free from material misstatement, and that they were prepared in accordance with accounting principles. The page 4 is what's called Management's Discussion and Analysis, MD&A. And this is where management is free to talk about anything that they want. This piece, as you can see at the top, is not technically audited. However, there's some really good information about what the authority is all about, what the plans are for the future, and then who to contact if there's any questions. So that's all included there. Short, sweet sentences that really get to the point about what the plan is over the next year or 2. Now, looking at the financial statements themselves, there was actually some activity to be accrued at the end of the year. So part of our audit procedures was not necessarily looking at what is there, but trying to understand what should be recorded and what is not there. So there's a completeness aspect of the financial auditing procedures that we perform. So you can see here, we, with the help of Amy, reviewed invoices of expenses that were incurred from the beginning all the way through December 31st that were incurred by the Alliance, but ultimately will be paid by the Land Authority. So that amounted to $207,603. And if you turn to the next page, you'll see the breakout of the activity of what type of expenses these related to. Right. Page 7. Although there was no cash at the beginning or the end of the period, we still have to show a statement of cash flows. So it is all zero and blank, but you can see how that reconciles back to the net change at the end of the year. And then finally, there is footnotes in your financial statements that describes the accounting policies that you use and what the organization is really set up to do. I think the most important and most significant note is the one at the very bottom regarding subsequent events, because it technically describes what happened after year end. That's the real purpose of the organization. The fact that you committed to purchase the property, as well as the fact that you will be supplemented by the issuance of bonds. And then finally, at the very back, pages 9 and 10 are the opinions that we provide, which are required under what's called the Yellow Book government audit. And what this is saying is that there are proper internal controls in place, and there are no significant deficiencies or material weaknesses around internal controls. So the fact that we're looking at invoices and that there's a proper approval in place is really where we focused the efforts on internal controls. So when all said and done, we're issuing 2 clean audit opinions, one on the financial statements themselves and one on the process of the controls under. The other letter that we have is called the required communications letter. It's very straightforward and basically explains everything that I just said. The fact that there are clean audit opinions provided, and then that there is an important footnote in note 4, as we just saw in the subsequent event. So any questions, thoughts on the first set of financial statements that will become public information?
So Kevin, the 207,000 is owed to the county, to the Alliance.
You lie.
Yeah.
To the Alliance.
Yeah.
So that hasn't been done.
It was.
That's transferred over?
Yes, we got the money in the, bond.
This is as of the end of the year.
Yeah, it's, so December 31st.
What are, it's a rough number, we paid the Alliance the 207,000. Where are we, because a lot of activity took place
Yeah,
after December.
Yep.
And now, roughly what's
Roughly.
the amount?
350, I'd say.
Another 350.
No, total,
Total 207
yes,
plus
150.
2025 to date is 350 roughly.
Correct, roughly.
Thank you. As we move forward with more activity, and we're gonna have more activity, you have recommendations on how we should be conducting, like monthly payment of bills, that kind of thing. It's an internal control question, but
Sure.
what is your vision or
Yeah.
thoughts on, what is your vision or thoughts on that?
So we also audit the Alliance. So I would say that because of the management that you're using at the Alliance, that it would fall under those type of controls. So looking at reviewing bills as they come in, making sure that there's proper segregation of duties. I know it's a very popular term, but that's what has to happen.
Yeah, but what role should the board play in
Okay.
approval of expenses?
Yeah. So I would be recommending probably quarterly, if not more, quarterly internal financial statements, just to ensure that the expenses that are listed probably use these categories are reasonable, and that's the kind of review I would be doing.
My question is more related to the board's responsibility of approving expenses and that kind of thing. How do you see, I mean, what does your model that you're recommending do?
Yeah.
I don't know what the Alliance.
Yeah. And I wouldn't necessarily say that any board members have to approve expenses.
All right, I just want to understand.
Yeah, I think there's proper controls in place with the
Okay, so-
management.
So that a quarterly financial statement itemized, and this is where we spent money for the last quarter. Like
Exactly,
what you're recommending.
exactly. Yeah.
I just want to, this is all new to everybody.
Sure.
We're just getting started, so it may seem elementary, but
Yeah.
we want to do things the right way.
Exactly. And as things progress, you can obviously add on to year-to-date comparisons. If you have a budget, you can add actual to budget and all that.
Okay, all right, thank you. And you look at contracts and see that we have contracts in place for the expenses that we're incurring.
Correct.
Or they're maybe not under a contract, but,
Invoices and proper approvals.
and see that, and you do all that.
Correct. So for the 207 that we have here, we looked at every.
You look at everything.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, yes.
thank you.
I'm just curious, for a little bit more detail on the operating expenses, just the advertising, insurance, professional fees, and those amounts and kind of where they came from, and what they served during that time frame.
Sure. I'm gonna default that to Amy, so.
That's
Yeah.
not a function of our ordinance.
Right.
I mean, as you'll see, most of it is, legal. So we had a lot in legal expenses. 75,000 in management fees is the management agreement between the Alliance and, the authority. Advertising was mostly, bigger public relations. Insurance was, D&O insurance. Professional fees, that was, probably audit fees. And then other was QuickBooks, software,
Are there any other questions? And we need.
And we're on an annual contract with Boundary.
Yeah, we send an engagement letter every year.
I believe we need an action, okay.
Yes, Madam Chair, for your consideration, there's a resolution here, it's actually on page 28 of the package, it's resolution 0325-2, resolution approving the 2024 audited financial statements and accepting the
2024 independent audit under the committee charter, the audit committee charter, that's the committee's responsibility to both approve financial statements and accept the audit. And then you'll report that to the board in the board.
Can I get a motion?
I'll move it. Can I? I'll move it.
Jasmine second. All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Okay. Next, we have a review audit committee charter results for me.
Yep, and I think Tom's gonna take care of D and E for us, right?
Yeah, that sounds great. So the next two items that we have in front of us are each year under the audit committee. The audit committee is tasked with reviewing the charter, seeing if there's any statutory, regulatory updates, and staff and the committee both are tasked in our charter reviews. And then reporting that to the board, that we've done that the committee has done that. So that's what this resolution documents, that the committee charter has been reviewed. And the committee charter, if you remember, was just adopted in August. It's based on an ABO template largely, and our statutory obligations under the enabling legislation. None of that has been changed, so staff and council have no recommended changes to the committee charter at this point. But annually, it's on our checklist. 6 months before this date, we go through and start looking at the various things that would affect the committee charter. So the resolution here today is just documenting that we've done that and that there's no recommended changes. And there's an annual report that the charter, the committee has that's then put in our records that says we've done that as a committee. Okay, that's the.
Any questions? No? Can I get a motion for the resolution?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
And then finally, the next resolution in your package, and it's at 57 of the packet. And this is in addition to what the independent auditor does in their audit. They check internal controls as well. Public authority law requires that management also perform an annual assessment of internal controls. And then there's an internal control report that ultimately will be posted on our website subsequent to today's meeting that shows that management has done that. And you can see, and basically it goes through and there are, under the law, there's certain areas that have to be addressed. It's 4 areas. Those 4 areas are outlined in this report. And it basically goes through, here are our main business functions, here's our policies and procedures that we've adopted, here's any deficiencies that we noted during the operating period, the last 12 months or that calendar year, and then it's complete. And so that's what you see in front of you, and this resolution adopts that report and then directs staff to post it on the website.
Any questions on that? Okay, yeah, we need an action. Can I get a, oh, sorry.
I'll move it.
Okay, second,
Sure.
all in favor?
Aye.
Approved. Okay. Would anyone like to raise any other business, or would you like an executive session on the audit committee?
I have one question. Where are you at with peer review?
Every 3 years, we just finished, we're right in the middle. We finished one 2023.
Who's doing it?
Firm in Louisiana. Name's escaping me right now, but I can get you our letter.
It will be on the website. Right?
It should be.
Thank you. Yeah, okay. But you're in the middle of it.
Correct. So we're due in 2026 to have another.
Okay. But you have one on file.
Oh, absolutely. Okay.
Current.
Current.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, if we can adjourn, we need a motion for that. Motion to adjourn. Second. Jasmine?
Okay.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned, thank you.
Kevin? My CFO said that think she works for Jones.
Oh, Matt.
Matt,
Yeah, I interviewed Matt.